A rich white person's not going to admit that being white helped them become who they are, because they take a lot of pride in the fact that their family may have not been rich to begin with and are now rich. When I got my job, for example, I walked in there and I just looked clean cut white person, and they hired me pretty much because of that. And it's just small things that no one really notices, but life's a little bit easier being white, I think. We've come a long way since the civil rights movement, but kids nowadays tend to grow up thinking that the problem's in the past, and there's still just a civil, there's an unjust civil system. I don't feel guilty about the fact that I've been given these advantages. I just feel the need to use these advantages subtly, or whichever way I can, to try to make sure that other people of other races can have the same advantages that I have.
Well, when you're in high school, you kind of become more self-aware, and you feel all your little insecurities or imperfections. You doubt yourself a lot, and it can sometimes hard to just kind of keep strong on your own. So people at my age, it gives you strength having people who are similar to you, and so that's where that element of being comfortable comes into play, because it's really important in kind of finding who you are and strengthening your own personal identity and surrounding yourself with people that you feel comfortable talking to. You don't feel like you're being judged with. It's an environment where you're safe to be exactly who you are. I have friends who are of different ethnic origins than I am, and we hang out 101 a lot, and we have a great time. But when it comes time for them to go hang out with their bigger group of friends who look like them and are a lot like them, there's this kind of unspoken rule that I can't be around that. There's so much privilege I have in there, but there's so much I can't experience, because there are doors open, but there are also doors closed to me because of my skin color.
I'm not necessarily happy that I'm white because of all the extra stuff that came with it. Because of like the way our race has acted like through the course of history. Like they've done the most evil messed up things I've ever seen. Other than like using rape as a weapon in the Congo, but white people have definitely done worse than that, in my opinion. And I mean, even now at the place I work and stuff like that, the people that say the most awful things that I've ever heard in person are those people, are those white people that get drunk and sit at my bar and spout off nonsense. And it makes me really disappointed that I have to be lumped into the same category as them. It's one reason why I like the way that I look, because I am separated in that way. I think people in my generation are less tolerant to blatant racism, but a lot of them don't understand like what all comes with like the underlying racism, like systematic racism that's happened. I've seen like on the internet and on television and stuff like that a lot of older white men complaining about them being discriminated against because they're white. But I don't necessarily agree with that. I think it's more of like everybody's just getting put on more equal footing and they're not used to it.
I don't personally feel responsible for racism, but I feel like as a white person, it's almost a duty of mine to try and end it. When I was at the McKinney protests, there was a huge variety of like different ethnicities and whatnot amongst everyone there, and there were a few comments being made, like people saying like, man, I hate white people, like white people are the root of all evil and whatnot. And like I was just like, wow. It was, I almost couldn't be hurt by it because I agreed with it. But at the same time, I'm like, well, I'm not evil. I'm not personally evil. I don't want to have to be lumped in to with a group of people who've caused so much hatred and prejudice in this world.
Um, don't want to sound all boo-hoo, but it's hard. It's hard to know that I will be given more because of who I am. And it makes me want to call into question my merit. And so far in life, I'll say plainly, I've done really well. I did well in high school. I've done well personally. And because of the family I was born into, I'm doing fine financially. Um, is any of that really mine? And in moving forward and trying to get what I want in life, trying to accomplish what I want to, um, again, I have to call into question just how much of that is really, coming from the hard work and the grit. How much of it is because of the color of my skin? How much of it is handed to me? Uh, and that's something that I need to always consider.
I wouldn't say that we owe other races reparations for the past because I'm not that person. I didn't do that to you, and I can't help what others have done to your ancestors, but it's not like specifically I am hurting black people today or Hispanics or Asians. Like, I didn't do anything to you guys, so step off. You can't get things for people who are dead. It's all in the past. You have to build forward, and just try to keep going. Do good for your own race.
In America now, being a white Christian is the hardest thing. And that's exactly what I am. I'm a white Christian male. Anything that white people say in the news or just anything in general about race or black people is always turned around against them, like Ferguson or anything like that. Just all that stuff, because all the people in Ferguson thought that the cop killed him because he was black. And in honesty, the cop was in fear for his life. And when a police officer is in any way in fear for his life, he's going to draw his gun and protect himself as any way he can. So I feel like it's like white people are misunderstood and they're put into bad situations like that, like Ferguson and McKinney and all that. I don't hate black people, but some things about them irritate me as a whole, because I don't know. Mostly at school, because like some black people at my school, they just go to school because they have to. Like, they don't go to get an education, so they'll like disrupt people in class, and it kind of gets irritating when I'm trying to learn and get my education, and they're kind of just ruining it for everybody else. They look at me like he's white, he's obviously smart, and he has rich parents and all that, and it was like, that's the complete opposite. My parents work paycheck to paycheck and do anything for me that they can. I feel like I would say my feelings, like what I'm thinking, all the time to people, just because I don't want to lie to people, because I wouldn't want somebody to lie to me. So I treat people the way I would want to be treated.
There's been plenty of times where I have consciously taken advantage of the fact that I was white, and always kind of knew that if I got in trouble, that I could just get a lawyer, suit up, show up, and it was a slap on the wrist. I would be in jail if I wasn't white. I've been arrested probably over 20 times, and the only thing I have on my record to show for it is a public intoxication. And there've been some hefty drug possession charges, and I've never served time. I sold drugs. I basically did whatever I wanted to do, knowing that there was going to be absolutely no consequences, as what kind of the past showed me. I never felt guilt at the time because I never thought about it. But now that you mention it, there is a little bit of guilt in there. Just because, me talking about it openly is making me realize, damn, I'm pretty lucky.
Well, I think I'm kind of I identify as white, but I'm half Mexican and half white. She's Mexican, and my dad, he's from New York, and he's white. In school, I would say more socially, I hang out with primarily white people. I have mostly white friends, and say if when I'm taking a test or something like the ACT or something, I check the white/Caucasian box. I realized that maybe I could have gotten some scholarship money if I said I was Hispanic for just to trying to fill their minority quota that they have. But I felt like if I did that, I became like a hypocrite, and because I really do not have, other than me, my mom being Hispanic, I really have no other affiliation with that. I kind of feel like the fact that I'm sometimes hiding that I'm Mexican, I feel like I'm disrespecting my mom. I'm not saying I'm not Hispanic or Mexican. I'm just not saying that I am. Like, I'm just not uh, telling people or in my friends group, and uh, it just makes me feel like I have to hide who I am, and I feel like I shouldn't have to, and I don't like that I do sometimes, but and it makes me feel weird about the people I'm hanging out with, and sometimes I question why I'm hanging out with these people, but I end up doing it anyways.